Good day, class. Today we're talking about Assistant Dungeon Masters.
Assistant to the Dungeon Master.
Oh yeah.
G'day guys and welcome. My name's Michael and I am the Dead Aussie Gamer, here to share with you my tips, tricks, ideas and strategies for playing and running tabletop role-playing games. Today I am actually making a video inspired by another channel. That is of course Dungeon Class, who recently released a video on Assistant Game Masters. And I thought to myself, well, you know, these are some great ideas and I definitely think people should check them out. But I've got a couple more that I'd like to throw into the barrel here. So, yeah, if you haven't checked them out before, there's a link in the description below to the video specifically. But yeah, give them a follow, give them a like, send them our love, and of course, yeah, they've got some really great content on their channel. So, without any further ado or further plugging, let's go into this. What do we mean when we talk Assistant GMs? Now, flat out, an Assistant GM is someone who the Game Master works with, whether secretly or openly, in order to help make the game more streamlined, more fun, more engaging, whatever. It is something that not only enhances the Game Master who's currently running the game, but something that also uplifts and draws the Assistant into the realm of game mastering. Whether or not it is an experienced game master in the assistant role, or if it's someone who wants to become one, no matter what the circumstance, the assistant will always eventually turn out to be like an apprentice to the game master and start developing a lot of styles and a lot of traits very similar to the person that they're assisting. So you've got two fronts that work super well when you work with an assistant GM. Now, many of you guys know I run games for kids, I run very large tables, so for me, an assistant GM is a lifeline. It is something that really helps me as a game master focus on what's important during the game and allows a lot of the nitty-gritty stuff to be handled by someone else, which always makes a massive difference in my games. So, let's talk about the different types of assistant game masters, what benefits they have, and of course, how to make the most out of them. The first I want to talk about is called the Chronicler. Now, the Chronicler is someone who records a lot. Someone who records loot, records hit points, records initiative, records notable NPCs, records quest items, records plot points, records story actions. You know, all these little things that get kept track of. This is when a Chronicler assistant game master comes in. Now, more often than not, I tell people a chronicler should never be on the same side of the table as the GM. You shouldn't just have someone sitting next to you writing stuff down. I mean, sure, maybe someone likes doing that sort of thing and wants to become one of those, like, you know, typesetters from, like, law courts and stuff, and sure, I mean, I guess. But a chronicler, for me, should always be on the side of the table with the players. And let me explain why. I had a scenario in an adventure a long time ago where I started, actually it was when I started writing my 8-year-long horror game. And one of the things I did was I tried to be really clever with some of the story points. I would draw back to things that they had done in the past. I even had a newspaper that chronicled their journey up to that point already, you know, pre-written in my adventure. And so little things like opening the door and meeting the mailman and sort of, you know, reading the newspaper became an actual event, I guess, that my players enjoyed during their downtime. And my chronicler was someone who wanted to play a Pathfinder and wanted to actually be really heavily involved in that. So they would not only do that, but they would also write their own journals, which reminded the group of a whole bunch of other stuff as well, which meant that they also kept track of a bunch of things that had happened in the game. So for example, they're like, hey, isn't this like the 4th time we've heard about this place here? Yeah? And the first time, it was about like us going to this other place, and after we'd done that, this happened here. Do you reckon there's any correlation? And suddenly they were putting the pieces together. Without that chronicler, they would not have noticed that, because this person's role, as I had told them, I said, yes, the newspaper is an important thing. It gives a lot of stuff to the players who are observant to it. It gave that player a way of chronicling that. In return, not only did he chronicle the going-ons of the plot, but, you know, even the loot stuff, like divvying up the loot. How much money do we get? What do we have here? And keeping track of initiative. Those things just made it so that I didn't have to go, oh God, they forgot about this newspaper thing. How do I fit this back in? How do I draw them back into that kind of story? Or, hey, damn it, they've missed it, and they're going to sit there and resent me when I finally spring my surprise on them. This gave me a great tool at the table to be able to use my players' knowledge and also, to I guess, manipulate my players' knowledge, for them to know what I need them to know at any given time. Chronicler is fantastic for that. The one thing I could say as a game master you need to always remember about using a chronicler at your table is that they are not a game master. They're a player. Do not force someone into this role. Do not say you have to do this or you must do this. Make sure it's someone who's going to enjoy doing it and gets some measure of reward for doing so. This is just super important because it can be very easy to forget that your chronicler is there to have fun as well. And yeah, writing notes and stuff like that, for some people, just not fun. All right. Second thing up is the Watcher. That's right. For those of you Viva La Dirt fans, the Watcher is an assistant game master who observes the table and is basically a spy for the game master. Now, when I say a spy for the game master, I don't necessarily mean that they spy on the group and then have secret conversations with the game master away from the table. That's not it at all. The Watcher is someone who may feed information to the GM and help guide the story through, I guess, manipulation of the personalities of the characters in the story. What does that mean? Let's go into it. Let's say, for example, that one of my players is disengaged. I'm really focused on the 3 or 4 other people at the table. I'm working on the story and stuff like that. And this player turns around and says, it seems as though the quest is taking us on a long and far journey. Perhaps we should prepare more thoroughly. What do you think, Neil? And then addressing that particular player means that the Watcher is now forcing that person to engage and bringing them back into the story without me as a GM having to do so. They might also look at things and be like, watching someone roll a dice, and if they cheat, for example, and there's a whole other video about cheating, the Watcher can turn to them and very quietly, without sort of raising an alarm, as it were, say, "Listen, I saw that. Don't do it anymore." That's it. And it takes a certain level of confidence to do that too. If you see someone cheating, okay, you know what? I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to say this. This is the most destructive, but easily the most effective way to catch out cheaters. If you have a Watcher at your table, all you need to do, don't make a big scene of it, turn to that player and just simply say these words. "I saw what you did. Don't do it anymore." That's it. Don't say anything. Don't give them a chance to, yell out and arc up, because a lot of guys who cheat tend to. Just sit back down. Just be like, "Yep, that was it." And if they cheat again, tell the GM. Second time is like, "No, that's it. You've got your warning. You've been told not to cheat. You're cheating. Done." Because the Watcher's not a tattletale. And that's the thing. And as soon as someone gets brought into the center of the field as, "You have been cheating," it's like, cool, this guy's the cops. This guy's the popo. He's going to report to the GM. And it changes the dynamic relationship of that player at the table at any given point. The Watcher can, however, exist on the GM side or on the player side. Both work perfectly fine. The Watcher can absolutely, rank the authority there. But as a player, it's a little bit trickier. I find that those who cheat tend to arc up very quickly if accused in front of a large group, because they don't want to be embarrassed. They don't want to have people looking at them like, "Oh, what's wrong with you? Ooh, this and that," because they know cheating is wrong. Very rarely do people know that cheating isn't wrong. So yeah, that's one of the big things you want to be doing there with the Watcher. Make sure that it's poignant but private. And then if it keeps happening, go to the GM. All right. As a GM, the one thing I should say you should look out for the Watcher is, again, try to not turn them into the suspicious scapegoat. I have a player / GM friend of mine who, and I have no idea why, but every character he plays is always hyper sarcastic and super, super, super suspicious. Like crazy suspicious. I sadly would never use this person as a Watcher on my table, because the sad truth is once people start suspecting the Watcher, they treat them like the Game Master. If you do things bad, or if you you're always kind of aware of this person's presence as the eyes and ears of a Game Master, So yeah, it changes the dynamic quite substantially, and it can lead to the Watcher not having as much fun, because people don't want to build as strong a relationship with characters who are, well, narcs, basically. That's yeah, that's my thoughts. That's my thoughts on it. Feel free to disagree in the comments. All right, the next one, and probably the most, I suppose, sneaky, is the Conspirator. Now, unlike the Watcher, who is simply there to observe and report, a Conspirator is someone who is there to move pieces on the board according to the GM's plot. Now, they can do this on either side of the table. I've had co-GMs who have run games with me, and I've said, hey, listen, I'm going to take them to the dungeon. Can you run a dungeon? The end result is that they have to find this item. My Conspirator then goes, yes, absolutely, I can. Cool. So I run my little scenario, then I go, cool, the GM is now swapping over to this person here, and he is going to, talk about this next portion of the adventure. Alternatively, you can have them on the player side, where you say, okay, cool, so in this adventure, there is a search for the great prince or the great sage, and I want your character to be that great sage. And the reason why you're with the group is because you're pretending like you're searching for them. Now, your character is very humble about the fact that you're a sage and you don't really want to be. You're kind of shirking the responsibility by trying to find a replacement for yourself, and that's why you're on this quest. Now, this major plot NPC, which is really kind of a DMPC if you really boil it down, is in the hands of another player. So it's more organic, and it's easy for the other players to feel like that NPC is now a part of the group and a very tangible element to their experience. So the Conspirator can be very tricky because upon the reveal that, a Conspirator is, of course, working to an ulterior motive, it can create some games will go, oh my god, that's amazing, that's so cool, wow. And others will be like, oh my god, I cannot believe that. I'm going to give you guys an example of a bad example of when this happened. Now, I was playing in the Carrying Crown adventure. It's a horror adventure set in Pathfinder's World of Galarian, and I was playing a Hell Knight. We had a whole group of us, and one of these players in particular, at some point or another, had contracted a madness. And this madness was that their alignment shifted, they are chaotic evil, and that they were out to get us, basically. Now, he had been acting so suspiciously this whole time. Not even joking. There was, we need to question this guy. Cool, we capture him alive. Then he would get killed by this dude, and we'd be like, why'd you kill him? He said, oh, he was suffering. Because that's why he was saying, oh, kill me, kill me, kill me. So I killed him. And so I'm like, we caught him. You literally just executed a helpless man without trial. We even had the means of healing his wounds. Oh, I didn't realize that. I'm so sorry. And it was not subtle. And we sat there and we're just like, to be good players, we can't just kill his character. We can't just engage in PvP and murder him. But he's really angering everyone at the table. And then eventually, of course, we get to the end boss, and he turns on us. And it's like, haha, I was the villain the whole time. And it was a groaning moment. It was like this giant, oh my god, I cannot even believe this. I mean, yes, of course I believe this. Because, literally for the past 6 months, we've been trying to figure out a reason why not to execute you because of how much of a villain you seem to be. So, conspirators need to be subtle. Otherwise it loses a lot of the magic. Now, another thing you need to really worry about, well, not worry about, I guess, but something you need to be focused on when you're a game master working with a Conspirator, you need trust. And I cannot emphasize this more. Trust is vital. Absolutely vital for working with a Conspirator, because if you don't trust them, you can't leave them to do what you think they should be doing. If you're hawking over a Conspirator, it reveals them too quickly. You need to be able to set them an objective and say, hey, this is what I need. Let's make this happen. So yeah. All right, the last one here, the last little type of assistant game master is, of course, the actor. Now, the actor is a very underused assistant, and I've used it multiple times because, I've been used for it multiple times. It is where you have a notable NPC, and you want someone else to roleplay it. I know that sounds really weird, but I've had it happen to me before where someone said, hey, we've arrived at a pirate town, and I've got this NPC. He's a slaver that has this information. And I get handed a note, and it's like, can you be that slaver? And I'm like, okay, do I have anything else or just this? Okay, cool. I just need to give them this information. Okay, cool. And then I actually have the conversation. I am Uwandan. and I am here to tell you that you cannot pass through my territory. If you wish to, then you must present a tithe. And, you know, I get through this, like, really, really interesting, awesome, and gripping roleplay. I have a lot of fun as an actor, and, you know, the GM at the same time gets time to sort of just enjoy, you know, to sit back, plot the things that are happening next, to watch the players really get into it. I mean, look, on occasion, I will reach out to female players and say, listen, there's this elderly lady role character. I don't have a female voice. Would you be so kind? This is the only dialogue I've got, but you can engage in a conversation if your character isn't interested in talking to this person, or if your character is off elsewhere doing things. The important thing about using an actor is to, again, use them sparingly. They are, like the Chronicler, there to have fun and not to simply serve as your particular assistant or particular role. They can only really happen on the I guess they could happen on the GM's table. I guess. I mean, the GM's side of the screen, you could have just someone there to do the role-playing stuff. I've not done that myself because of, obviously, I'm a good, you know, actor, voice actor, performer, so I don't really have someone sitting there to do that. But maybe it's a good idea. Maybe it's worth trying out. See if one of your friends is like wants to do the NPCs. Who knows? Alright guys, so thank you so much for watching this video. Once again, if you do have the means to, go and check out Dungeon Class and their YouTube channel. There's a lot of really cool and interesting content there, and let us know what you guys think of Assistant Game Masters. Do they make valuable additions to your table, or are they something that's a little bit more kind of, I suppose, the product of a paranoid mind? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time, guys, as always, from me to you, game hard or die trying. Bye, guys!